Former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has launched a direct attack on the Berejiklian government, endorsing independent candidate Kirsty O'Connell ahead of the Upper Hunter by-election later this month. Turnbull, who was dumped as the New South Wales government's climate czar after he proposed a ban on new coal mines, says the coalition has taken the Hunter Valley for granted.
Vote one Kirsty O'Connell. That's the message for the Upper Hunter. Well, you've been taken for granted, is the truth. I mean, the state government and the National Party in particular has taken this community for granted. They've prioritised the big mining companies over everybody else. The Nationals have had their go. They've behaved appallingly. They've neglected the community. It's about time for an independent.
Incredible stuff. For more on this, I'm joined by New South Wales Deputy Premier John Barilaro. John, I want to get your reaction to that clip, but also to this statement from Malcolm Turnbull. In a Facebook post, he says, "There is not one person in New South Wales who has done more to destabilise and disrupt the Berejiklian government than Barilaro." That's you. He has the biggest glass jaw in New South Wales. Your response, please?
Well, Rita, we are faced by a man that has an ego that I can't describe, a man that was Prime Minister and in his time as Prime Minister did very little for the environment or for anything really, rejected by the Australian public, a swing against him, and it was the National Party at the time that held all its seats when Malcolm lost 14 seats. And yet it's now the National Party that have done the wrong thing or letting the community down. This is a guy, unfortunately, just won't let it go. From 2016, the Wentworth by-election, the Morrison government, and now he wants to go and campaign against a Liberal National government in New South Wales, a government that has delivered. And unfortunately, if he likes it or not, the National Party are a big player in that government. And, you know, I'm prepared to call him out for what he is. He is a wrecker. He's a destroyer, he doesn't build, and he wants to lecture people in the regions.
Well, Malcolm Turnbull's also made quite an extraordinary remark. He said that Gladys Berejiklian would privately appreciate if the independent candidate wins in Upper Hunter. Now, you are a member of the National Party, not the Liberal Party, but you are second in charge of a coalition government. Should Malcolm Turnbull be expelled from the Liberal Party for what we've seen in recent months, including his endorsement of a non-Liberal candidate?
Yeah, those comments were incredible. You know, I speak to Gladys daily. She's interested in the campaign. She's been at the heart of the campaign along with me. We're working hard to make sure we can retain this seat. It's a tough call and a tough fight. And for Malcolm to speak on behalf of Gladys shows total disrespect to the Premier of this state, to the leader of the New South Wales Liberal Party. And I'm not a member of the Liberal Party, of course. I'm the leader of the Nationals, but I can tell you many Liberals have contacted me today saying that this is an act of treachery, an act of bastardry, and that Malcolm Turnbull should be expelled from the Liberal Party, but I'll leave that up to the Liberal Party to resolve.
Why don't they take that action? And not only have they not taken that action, they've tried to elevate him to the climate czar, and that didn't work out too well. But what is the reluctance from the New South Wales Liberals to cut ties with Malcolm Turnbull?
Rita, I don't know. I think the Liberal Party see Malcolm as that crazy old uncle that comes to those Christmas party events or Easter dinners and talks to himself in the corner, and he's harmless and hopefully he'll just go away and you won't see him again until next year. But unfortunately, Malcolm seems to be popping up when he doesn't get things his way. When we sacked him from the Net Zero Emissions Board because he wouldn't go quietly, his ego was far too big for that. And how, you know, again, he didn't start that job well. He went off on a tangent, spruiking his own message rather than the government policy. The reality is I just assumed that they were going to let him go. But look, the Liberal Party will have to do something with him. There's a federal election and there's another state election. I think what we're seeing now is an excuse by Malcolm. He'll probably blame me if he gets expelled from the Liberal Party. I think that's what he eventually wants. He wants to be expelled and he's looking for someone to blame. So be it. If it's my job that gets him expelled, well, so be it. But like I said, what we've seen in the last few days is unbelievable, unseen of. You know, we've had great former Prime Ministers from Howard to Hawke, Keating, Gillard. You know, when they speak, the Australian public listen. You had Rudd we'll put him in his own category. And now you have Malcolm in his own club, a membership of one. There is no room for anyone else because his ego is far too big.
Wow, okay, I'm sure we'll get a response from Malcolm Turnbull to those remarks. Now, to the Upper Hunter, the election there, how confident are you of the Nationals retaining that seat?
Well, Rita, it's a cast of thousands. There are 13 candidates in the field, and that in itself brings much risk. The vote will be spread. The primary vote will be low for everybody. But look, I've campaigned now for 3.5 weeks on the ground. We made the decision in relation to the former member. People are respected at how quickly I acted on that. We've got a good candidate in the field in Dave Lizelle who, when people meet him, they like him. And, we look at our track record. It's not what we're saying now. It's not that we've just turned up on the eve of an election and said, trust us on what we're saying. It's actually what we've actually done. When it comes to mining, we've been a big supporter of mining. When it comes to investment in infrastructure like the bypasses of Singleton and Muswellbrook and Scone, we've made those commitments in schools and hospitals. So all I'm saying to the people of the Upper Hunter, 2 years out from the next state election, now's not the time to change the jockey mid-race. The reality is you get to judge our guy again in 2 years' time, and if he's done a crap job, get rid of him then. But, right now, we need the seat of Upper Hunter to hold majority government so that Gladys and I can keep doing what we're doing. That's keeping the public safe and, of course, rebuilding the economy. And I think people are getting it. And it's going to be a tight race. I don't take anything for granted. And to win a by-election in your third term of government is a big ask. But, look, I'm feeling confident on the ground.
And lastly, I want to ask you about tomorrow's budget. Plenty on offer for New South Wales, particularly on infrastructure from what we've seen so far. Are you satisfied your state is getting its fair share of new spending?
Yeah, credit to the federal government, and I think they've picked some really key projects across the board. It's great to hear some investment around aged care facilities, what's been flagged, so we're looking forward to seeing more of that detail. But, today I think the thing that really surprised me and I was really happy to see was the $2 billion the federal government has committed in New South Wales for what we call the Great Western Highway, which allows us, because we only a couple of weeks ago mentioned our $2.5 billion, and that's to tunnel through the Blue Mountains. We've got two smaller tunnels. We've got an opportunity to turn it into the largest tunnel in Australia, about 11 kilometres. It's about a $7 billion project. Well, guess what? Now, with the federal government's contribution, we've got $4.5 billion. This will take 8 to 10 years to deliver. So I'm now confident we can get on with it. So, yeah, look, I think we're getting our fair share. But as I always say, we're always happy to take more in New South Wales.
John Barilaro, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.